But you'd been doing comedy together at university, right? So did you get in a relationship and then the comedy came, or were you doing comedy and then you fell in love over there?
Yeah, we kind of, I didn't really do any sort of comedy performing, and I still can't claim to do that really now, but I always just had an interest in performance, but it was always at a very amateur level. So as soon as he started doing stand-up, and it was really the pandemic that forced us into doing something together in the shed. So the shed show came about, and really I was just like on the floor in the shed. I wasn't actually on the camera.
That's not as sinister as it sounds.
And so I was just like, we wanted the atmosphere of like TFI Friday, but I was just a one-person audience. But we wanted the audience to feel like somebody was actually listening and laughing, and I do have quite a distinctive laugh, unfortunately, or fortunately. And
I don't know, I've never heard it.
And so you were like doing all the stand-up, and it was, you did prep for it every week, didn't you? About an hour's worth of new stand-up each week. And I was kind of like cheering, clapping on the floor. And the audience, like, we'd get comments from people listening that were just like, it feels like we're watching something really live, really sort of organic. And
we're watching a breakdown in real time.
Exactly, yeah. And slowly but surely, I'd start to stand up a bit more, and people would say, you know, get Jemma standing up, and then I'd play the keyboard really badly.
Get your wife standing up.
Yeah, you know.
It's just like 1 week, just a little bit of a forehead. Like a reverse Naked Attraction. Just a little bit more of Jemma every week.
I'm just very aware that it does seem like I'm just so riding on your coattails, which is effectively what I am doing. But I was always a show-off. I always wanted to perform. Like, it was my absolute dream to do panto here. This is like absolutely awesome for me. I've been to this theatre so many times. I just never imagined that this would be the capacity in which I've been doing it. But it's just been brilliant. And, you know, we will often have arguments. Shock. We'll have arguments about stand-up, because I don't know how your wife feels about this, Richard. I mean, you know, but, you know, you're often on your own. He's travelling around the country. I'm doing loads of stuff on my own with the kids. And, you know, and then it'll come to the podcast, and, you know, we so enjoy recording the podcast. It is actually the one time of the week we get to talk. And I don't think we go as far as saying it saved our marriage. I don't think our marriage was ever on the rocks.
What a way to find out.
Yeah. But it's you know, he's so busy, and I'm so busy. Yeah. Obviously in different ways, but we actually come together and we talk for like 3 hours every Monday, and it's been brilliant. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, well, that's what I love about it, is that you feel like you are finding out stuff.
Yes.
But you realise in a marriage, you do think how much do we sit down and like talk to each other for certainly not for 3 hours.
No, absolutely.
So it is a great thing. But yeah, you're passing. What are you up to this week? Oh right, okay, I didn't know you were doing
that.
That
is literally a genuine question. So how's your week been? You know, literally like, oh, I don't know what you've been doing. Like, often my friends will say, where's Scott tonight? And I'll be getting the Google Calendar out. Yeah, he's in Bournemouth tonight. You know, I just don't know where he is half the time.
Yeah. I mean, what it has meant is that I've contractually bound us to stay together. So that's the sort of weird thing, is that now it's like, if we have an argument, we have to resolve it by Monday. We're on a deadline, because I'm like, we can't let these people down. But, you know, if we are going to get divorced, we'll do it on Patreon.
But it is,
might as well make some money for it, you know?
Who gets the kids? Find out next week. £5 a month. Pays for my solicitor.
It's a difficult thing, you know. I've been in double acts, and the double acts, you know, you have disagreements and you break up. It's a difficult thing to, you know, and it's something actually me and Katie does another podcast, obviously, and as a comedian as well. But she's just getting back into doing stand-up, actually. But yeah, we sort of discussed doing stuff together, and I'm kind of going, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know.
I think it makes for a brilliant podcast, and I think, you know, the honesty of it, of what you do, and the relationship is so strong, and you can take the piss out of each other, and you know you're pretty safe.
Yeah.
I was just saying, in a world of sort of blokey podcasts as well, there's quite a lot of that out there. It's lovely to have your wife, although sometimes what it means is I forget I'm with Jemma sometimes, because I'll start bullshitting. And if I'm with like blokes, they never pull you up, they just roll with the bullshit. Yeah. Whereas I forget that Jemma has had 20 years of this. So I'll start
27 years.
Sorry. I'll start on the point and she'll just go, No, you didn't.
No.
And I forget she's sort of like, she can see behind the
Shut
fourth wall.
up.
Yeah, but it's quite a nice balance, I think, that. And I think it's definitely something.
The thing is as well, I know loads of my friends and people who listen to the podcast, you know, we listen to lots of podcasts. I mean, RHLSTP, I'm a massive fan of that.
Thank you.
I listen to so many podcasts, and I actually feel like they really helped me during lockdown. And I know the market just went crazy for podcasts during that time. I just couldn't do anything without having something playing, you know. But there are a lot of couples out there doing stuff now, and we are really small fry compared to a lot of other big podcasts.
But don't cut the ambition off.
Yes, okay, all right. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't feel like it ever matters. Our listeners are so lovely, and it feels, because I get really freaked out by the whole fame thing. Like, I can't believe I'm sat here now. I'm not famous at all, but the fact that I do a podcast and we've been invited on here, this is all weird to me. But I'm like, why do we do it? Why does anybody perform? And the reason is because A, it feels good. I like, you know, entertaining. The thought that you've made somebody laugh, or, you know, when you get messages and they say, oh, I've listened to you on the way to work and it's really just lifted me, or it really does motivate you to do it. And also we just do have good fun, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just a strange old thing, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's got to be, you know, I think, again, if anyone, you know, obviously everyone's doing podcasts, everyone's thinking of doing podcasts, but I think that's the key to it, is not to think, oh, you know, where will it end up?
Yeah.
It's to be, what are we getting out of it now?
Yes.
And if it isn't having fun,
there's
it isn't doing something experimental or interesting, there's no point to it. So
No.
and it won't work. So, you know,
No.
and it's, you know, you guys, you can say that, but you guys, you know, partly because of the shed thing during lockdown, I think you were breaking through as a stand-up, innit? Well, you're doing well as a stand-up anyway, but you know, that seeing that thing, oh, let's do this, because I presume you wanted to do it because you were just not performing. So it wasn't like a think, oh, what can I do?
Yeah,
Where will this lead? But it does lead somewhere if you do something that's good, you know.
I remember it distinctly because I was at the Glee in Nottingham, and it was just when everything was happening. So people were like disinfecting stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember the breaks were really long because blokes were washing their hands. So they were saying, why are the breaks so long? I was like, because men are washing their hands. And I remember just sort of, they were spraying and walking around in marigolds. And I was like, I said to you, this will blow over this. This is nothing. And they're like, a year later, we're just, and I think it was sort of half panic, half conscious, because Jemma was working where she was going around nurseries with her own business, and we lost that.
Right.
So both of us, our diaries just cleared. It was like I'd been cancelled overnight. And I think, I remember watching, like, in Italy, they were, like, singing songs from the balcony and stuff.
God,
and it was
do you
quite
remember that?
beautiful. And I said, let's go down the shed and shout into a webcam. Do you know, it's like a cross between Babe Station and B&Q. Come on, look. And it wasn't even a conscious decision. I think it was just a fear of not having anything to do, and the fact that I'd quit a job. And it was like moment when I was speaking to my mum, she was like, it's not too late to go back. My mum's wonderful, but it's just my mum's whole attitude is when I tell her I'm going to London to do a gig, she goes, oh, I'm sorry. It's got a weird attitude, but yeah, it was more panic than a strategy.
Panic, as we know, Scott's really good at panic, and we had the worst.
If I was a Jedi Knight, I'd be panicking Skywalker.
You really would. And we had the worst internet connection this side of, well,
it was dreadful.
It was awful.
And that was even more stressful. So
but people loved it. They loved the stress. They almost wanted it to crash just to see his face, panicking to try and get us back online again.
I was running cables into the house. I was late. It was like some sort of shit action movie. Just getting out cable. I had phones connected. Every time it dropped, I was, it's dropped again. That was all my Thursday. My blood pressure must have rocketed. COVID wasn't going to kill me, but that live stream would, I'll tell you. You know.
But, you know, I think, again, it is you know, finding the positives, which we all had to do, whatever we were doing, and finding a way through. But it was, I found it a very creative time, even though a lot of the stuff I was doing was insane, but I was doing the insane, most of it before. The ventriloquist dummies was the only new bit. I'd been playing snooker against myself and moving stones before lockdown. There's no excuse for that. But, but I feel like it was you know, to have that freedom to go, okay, well, like, we've got to do, it's got to be a bit homemade. And it's going to be improvised. It's not, you know, we're not in front of an audience, so it's a different it's a completely different vibe than doing something in front of an audience. So, you know, creatively, that was, for the people who decided to do it, you know, some people I think did go, oh, you know, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But you know, it was a long time we had to
It was a long time.
I think accidentally, I mean, you got that shed. Gemma, so the shed came about when I quit my job. Gemma said, oh, I think you might need somewhere to write. That shed appeared as a surprise, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I thought at the time, what a fantastic thing. There was like Scott's shed on the door. And then I thought, actually, I've just been kennelled. And then it actually...
The doghouse.
I've literally been put in the doghouse, and I've thanked you for it. I was like, listen, and it was somewhere to write. But then when the live streams came about, I think I got a lot of the online gigs because I was coming from a bunker, a shed, a chipboard tomb, whereas everyone else was sort of sat there in the front rooms. I had a shed, I had a story, and it ended up. I remember at one point I did. It was just some weird. I did like this conference where they said, oh, one of them's to Europe, one of them's to America, and I sort of had to walk into the shed at like 6:30 in the morning. And they said, oh, there's no audience because we haven't got like a live camera. So if you just do it as a monologue. So I was doing a monologue to me in a shed. And then I just ended it, then went back in the house. And then came back out like later on that day, did the same monologue. And I thought, this is mad. I don't even know if anyone's watched this. But it was like, that was the sort of thing we were doing. Weird, it was really weird. Just going gigs in Singapore, just clicking on links and... It was such a... I still can't believe we did it, actually. It was like time travel or something. It was bizarre, you know.
It was bizarre.